In the Factor follow-up segment tonight, should American taxpayers be forced to give their hard-earned dollars to public broadcasting? Taxpayers fork over more than $400 million each year to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. But NPR claims it only gets a fraction of its funding from government sources, so maybe they don't need our largesse at all. Some members of Congress think it's time for NPR to pay its own way. One of those, Senator Tom Coburn of Oklahoma, joins us from Tulsa. Senator Coburn, thanks for coming in.
Juan, glad to be with you.
Senator, exactly how would it happen in the Congress that there would be a movement to take this money away from NPR? How could it actually happen? Because we've heard this talk before, but it never ever happens.
Well, I think the bigger issue is should we fund $400 million a year to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which NPR ultimately gets about $3.3 million a year. If my data is right, they got a $1.8 billion from George Soros. They don't need any money from us. And the question is there not enough choice and selection in the media, both radio and television today, that the federal government that has $13.6 trillion worth of debt ought to continue to spend $500 million a year on government subsidized medias.
But what you're going to hear, I can anticipate this for you, Senator, is you're going to hear from every local station around the country, because NPR has member stations, and everybody in that district is going to call up and say, don't defund public radio. It's as if public radio would disappear if it wasn't for public funding. I don't know that it would disappear. So the question is, though, how do you respond when you start to get that pressure from NPR constituencies?
Well, I think you respond by looking at what the Constitution says, Juan. Where is it in the Constitution says the federal government's supposed to be funding competition for private networks with a public television or public radio in any way? It would be different if we had the luxury of not having $1 trillion deficits. But, the real factor is one of the reasons our country's in trouble is because we've not paid attention to the rule book that says here's the limited role for the federal government. In its day, was it maybe a good idea to get options out there in terms of the media? Yeah, but we're way past that both logically, but we're also past it financially because we can't afford it. And so let's talk about your controversy for a minute. Your controversy isn't because you said something about your feelings. The controversy is that you were not following the political correctness line that is dictated by a public, national public radio, even though they're quasi-independent. And the debate isn't about you being able to say your feelings and you being a commentator, and a very good one at that. It's about you didn't follow the political correct line, and here's the government with its hands reaching down to NPR with $3.3 million, and with the Corporation for Public Broadcasting $400 million. Why should we have any federal money going there?
This is an interesting point that you're making, because what you're saying is essentially then the federal government is acting to censor people who might be politically unattractive to them. It could be that you have Democrats controlling this pot of money at the moment, and that they have some say about the editorial content as a result.
That's exactly right, and it'd be just as bad as if conservatives had some, and they had some say about the content of the political result. The fact is there's no room and no business for the federal government to be in any way, shape, or form in the business of media manipulation.
So do you think that will carry the day? If you make that case on the Senate floor, is it going to carry the day with Republicans and Democrats? Do you see this really happening, Senator?
I don't know, but I'll guarantee you I'll be offering an amendment on the appropriation process to defund it. And we'll see. I'll tell you who it's going to carry the day with.
Yes.
Is the American people. And if the Congress doesn't start listening to the American people in this country, the Congress is going to change. And we're seeing that in the election cycle this year.
We are. Senator, thanks so much. This is an interesting conversation. We'll follow up on it. Thanks again.
All right. Good to see you.
In a moment, we'll play you the tape of what happened when Bill O'Reilly went on Terry Gross's NPR show. Please stay with us.